Welcome to Eagle Eye.
What a break from Manolo!
Interviewing your favorite USA Eagles around the globe.
Tony Lamb into the 22.
Now, here's your host, Bill Baker.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Appreciate you listening or watching online, YouTube, Facebook, all the social media, Instagram, that kind of thing. And I really appreciate you doing both. If you get a chance, please like, subscribe, leave a review. You know, someday maybe I'll do, I'll give away something special if you leave a 5-star review. One day, who knows? Or maybe I'll just read out your review one time as well. So if you can do that, that'd be great. So on to the show. I have today someone I've been looking for the right time to get on, and right now is a great time for it. This player he's the first Fijian ever to represent the USA in the Olympics. And he has years of experience now playing in Japan, Europe, America. He's been all over. Andrew Durutalo. Really interesting guy. He's smart. He's traveled the world. He's played all different levels of rugby, 7s and 15s. He's really done well, and eventually he lived his dream by doing playing in the Olympics in 2015 for the USA. But earlier that dream was for Fiji. So, interesting story how he went from Fiji to USA, and then just the way he grew up, born in the USA, grew up in Fiji, went to a really good rugby school in Suva, and then was helped along the way from some people like Surevi and others. So, again, great player for USA, and a lot of fun to interview. Enjoy.
Happy New Year, and how's everything going?
Pretty good. Happy New Year to you as well. I really do appreciate you jumping on with me. It's been a while. I've been I've been wanting to get you on here for a while. And as I was going through my notes, preparing for this, I was, it's a lot. You've been doing a lot, since you started playing, since you were a kid. But I didn't know where to start. So let's start here. New York City.
Yeah, so I was born in New York City, upstate New York. In Binghamton. So my parents came out there to study. So they came out my dad came on like a Fulbright scholarship, and then they had me while they were in school, and both my mom and my dad, and then we lived there for about 4 years, and then my parents moved back to Fiji to teach at the university in Fiji. So that's how obviously I'm Fijian ethnicity. But that's how I have that background of growing up in Fiji as well.
So you were young then when you went back there. You said like 4 years old?
4 or 5, yeah. So I just in time to go into school. So then I did all of that. So all my schooling was done in Fiji up until high school. And then, played age groups for Fiji, U19s, U21s. And there's a funny story. I actually met Threaten while I was playing for Fiji because he was playing for someone. And so I found out that, obviously I'm American, qualified and being born in America. He was he told me, he was like, we should both play for America one day. And then fast forward to 2015 World Cup, we're lining up against someone in the first World Cup.
Oh, my God.
So it's just been crazy just how it just came full circle. So. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a small world, man. I mean, you've ran into people along the way who you end up being teammates with. But let's just back up a bit to Fiji. So when you went back in, eventually you went to the Suva Grammar School, correct?
Grammar School, yes.
Yeah, now they have a pretty good reputation of being a good rugby program.
Yeah, very good rugby program. At least in the time I was there, they've also produced a lot of Fiji internationals and internationals that went on to represent other countries, Italy, some other, I think New Zealand. But yeah, it's a very big public school in Fiji. So it's in the capital, and I was just fortunate enough, I got into rugby while I went to school because I wasn't really into rugby.
Right. And
it's something that my friends did, and just kept me in line. Pretty much my whole high school, I was just so focused on playing rugby and then going to school. Yeah. And that just kept me in check, I think, the whole time because I was just so busy with it. And I was fortunate enough to to be part of a team that 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 produced a lot of internationals. I think in my class there were probably 6 or 7 internationals that went on to play for Fiji, and I was the only one that went the other way. And but I had always said, like, whoever offered me the opportunity to play first, I'd take it. And it just so happened it was USA, and it's been great.
When did you start getting recognized by Fiji?
Playing first 15 for my high school, and we had won it, I think, in 2004. I think we reached the semifinals, and then 2005 we actually went on to win, the championship in Fiji. That's where I kind of started really taking it seriously, because I was just doing it just to have some fun. But then, back then it was U19s. So I was part of the last U19s and then U21s at that time when I was still in high school. I got on to U19s that year, and I think it was in Dubai. And funny enough, we played America, and I kept.
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah. You did. That's right. And you scored in that match, I believe.
I think I played against. I think Salty was the coach. Salty was coach of the U19s for USA. I think Catsby was on that team. I'm not sure. I think Ebner was on that team.
Ebner was on that team, yeah. And and it became teammates later with Sevens, of course, and
it's wild, just reading back. So U19s that year, and then a couple of months later, the U21s championship was going on in France. So I was still 18 at the time.
Wow.
And they were like, "You want to play U21?" So I was the only guy that came across and played U21s for Fiji. But it was and that's when I think my career really took off, because then I got scouted to go to Japan. I played against England, Australia, and Scotland. And that's when because I started off as a hooker. And then,
you did? Wow.
Yeah. I went to the U21s, and they're like, "Oh, well, we'll put you in the back row." So they put me at flank, and then that's pretty much just stayed there ever since.
So U21s, U19s and all that stuff. Now, I was reading you also were Fijian Warrior as well. Now, isn't that that's as high as you can get before the international side? So you were close to capping for Fiji.
Yeah, I was so it was a funny story. So I played for the Fiji Barbarians, which is the one step down from Fiji A. And then the following year, I played for Fiji Warriors. And in my head, I was I was on my way to be captain for Fiji. And then 2011, I tried for the Fiji World Cup team. And then I got cut, I think, the last 35, which was crazy at the time. But I hadn't capped for Fiji yet. I was literally just I was a young kid, 22 years old, just what do I do now? I thought it was the end of the world. It's I really wanted to become a professional rugby player, and I just graduated from college in Japan. So I was doing the Fiji Warriors stuff while I was still a student in Japan.
Oh, so you weren't playing in Japan. You were coming back over for matches or playing for those teams.
Yeah, so it just worked out. So whenever we had a break during school, I'd come back to Fiji, and then it would be the Fiji Warriors tour. So I'd just go on tour with them. And then when I graduated, I had just set my sights on 2011 World Cup, and just wanted to make it straight away. And I got cut, and then I was just pretty much in Fiji for a month, just playing provincial rugby. Kind of bummed that I didn't make the squad, but then an opportunity came to come to America. And,
wait! Before you continue on, not to interrupt you there. Well, actually, to interrupt you, I want to get to that point in a second. But let's go. Generally speaking, Fijian rugby, the atmosphere of Fiji, and the importance of the sport in Fiji. Did you understand that when you were a youth, when you were that age, or because it seems from the outside, like myself, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. That's all I wanted to do when I was young. But my parents being heavily involved in school, they were making sure that I went to school as well. So there's no way I was going to become like just a professional rugby player. They also wanted me to stay in school. Yeah, from a young age, because of the influence of like being in a country that's just so crazy about, rugby and representing Fiji. And I kind of knew it was a big deal. And then one of my first cousins was on the squad at the same time. So he was a lock for Fiji. And I really wanted to, play alongside him. But yeah, I mean, that was probably one of my goals when I was younger, to get kept, internationally kept.
Right.
But I just didn't know it was going to be for USA. So.
Well, I mean, it's it's nothing against the other team, USA, whatever else, but obviously Fiji you want to be captain of Fiji, and understandably, right? So 2011's come along, you don't make the World Cup roster. Was USA talking to you already because they knew you were eligible, or was around here you started communicating?
No, so I was just like it never like occurred to me to represent USA or to like come and play in America, because my whole rugby development was in Fiji at school and then U21s and being in the system, and I just knew that I was going to eventually represent Fiji. But no, it was just like I just had like I think I played in a provincial game and the season was ending. There was an opportunity to come to America. I think I was talking to a couple of clubs. So I talked to, I think it was Old Blue in New York, and Old Puget Sound, which is here in Seattle. And then I think I was also talking to a couple of Japanese clubs, but at the time, the Japanese rules were very different towards foreigners. They were just looking at, I think John Cohn was head coach at the time, but they were specifically looking at Kiwis and Aussies, Kiwis and Aussies to come across to, eventually represent Japan. But that was the other option as well, to go and play for Japan, because I had already done the 4 years. And then one of my teammates that I was in the same university went on to cap for Japan in 2011. Oh, wow. And I'm like, so I was like, I didn't get it. I was like, I should have just played for Japan. But then, so I came to Seattle. I think I spent like a week here, and then just so happened Al Caravelli was up here doing one of the Serevi camps back then. So, and he found out that I held an American passport, born in New York. And it had just never like occurred to me. And then he was like, "Oh, why don't you?" So he like convinced me, come down to Chula Vista. There's like I think the sevens weekend down there, and I had never played sevens in Fiji. Like, never. Oh, wow. I was strictly 15s. When I went to Japan, I was just 15s, and I just knew like my body type wasn't fit for sevens. But like he was like, "No, come down, you'll enjoy it." I played went down. And then I think I was added to like one of the USA scrimmages, and I just remember being so tired. Oh my goodness, It was crazy. Just like being my first like sevens game. But then I guess he liked me, and then he kept me on. So I made my debut for the Eagle Sevens in 2011. I think at the end of 2011 in Dubai. Or in Dubai. Yeah. No, in South Africa, actually. I met the team in Dubai. But I had asked him if I could go back to Fiji and play some sevens tournaments so I could get used to playing sevens. So I'm in Fiji, and I'm watching them on TV. And so I think Colin Hawley got injured. And so he just sends me a text, and he was like, "Can you come out?" So I literally was watching them on TV in Fiji, and I flew from Fiji to get capped by USA. Wow. So it was a wild year for me.
Yeah. So you didn't really spend a lot of time playing club rugby in the States. You had a little bit.
No. So I've just played I was just with the sevens most of the time. The sevens, and I think after that season, the 2011-2012 season, I came back and played in the last Super League final against Nyack, and we lost to Nyack, and then the following week I think I got announced on the Eagle squad, so then I flew to New York, to West Point, which is my first ever Eagles 15s camp, and then they like throw me in the mix straight away. It's kind of unreal playing it. And then we lost to Canada the other day. Oh my gosh, yeah. That always like haunted me every time. So every time we play Canada, I make sure we try not to lose.
So why would you think it's difficult for sevens, let's say true sevens players that grew up with the game? Now you played 15s and then came to sevens. So it seems like those sevens players that have gone on and tried 15s, I'd say 50-50 of them, like Carl Niles tried it out with Glasgow Warriors and a couple other players as well. Why is it so hard for them to succeed at that level, or not I'm going to say not that level, but at that brand of rugby, that 15s rugby?
I know. I guess it's also knowing how to apply yourself, like your strengths, to the team that you go to, especially if you know what kind of team you're going to. Like, Glasgow Warriors, they play a very exciting style as well. They're very attacking as well, and also have like very big forwards that are very bruising. But I think if you can learn to, apply your strengths in those areas, but like in the case of Colin Niles, I think it would take a little bit more to just understand, attacking structures of 15s versus 7s. Right. And obviously, it's a different game, 15s and 7s. But, I think the trick would be knowing how to bring those 7s, elements across the 15s, especially like the broken play. That would be very good. And just using your speed pretty much.
All right, so you're now in USA camps, both 7s and 15s. Well, now, but prior, back in before you did your international retirement. But you got to the 2015 World Cup. So knowing that you fought for that 2011, what were the emotions, or what was it like to make that roster?
Oh man, it was unreal. Like, even being announced, I still found it, very, very, it's just a dream come true, because it was something that I had set out, as a young kid, not only to get kept, but to play the World Cup. And you never know when, that could have been, my last World Cup, which it was. And, just making sure that, you give everything you have and not letting the opportunity slip. But yeah, it was, big for my family as well, just seeing me achieve my dreams as being a professional rugby player and reaching the pinnacle of 15s where you play in a World Cup. Playing alongside a lot of the guys that have already been on the show, like Chris Wiles and Samu Manoa and, Blaine and, all these Eagles, and also just, hearing stories of like all the guys that have come before, Dan Lyle, he was a legend in Bath, and, just trying to do justice when I represent USA, and obviously, try and push the standard as well. But yeah, that was just my mindset going into the World Cup.
So how often have you personally been on the pitch against Fiji?
Sevens, a handful of times.
It would be just 7s, right? Have you faced them in 15s?
I've never actually played them in 15s. I don't think I've played them. No, I've never played them.
But even in 7s, when your family's hopefully watching the match, are they cheering for their son?
Yeah. My mom's, my sisters, they were always big on me, doing well against Fiji, and I always try to go hard against Fiji because I know them personally, and a lot of those boys I grew up with and I played against or with when I was back home. Yeah. So they kind of know their strengths and weaknesses, and so I always try to
Okay, so 2015 World Cup's up. Is that where you get on the Sunwolves radar?
Yeah, so I had signed for the Sunwolves even before the World Cup had started, but I just kept it on the down low because it was a done deal, I think, after the Japan game in Sacramento. Because and the crazy thing is I knew a lot of the boys that played for Japan because I played them in college.
Oh, wow.
and so like, and also like I could understand them while I played. So like I really had to like, yeah, just try and really play well because I knew we had them in our World Cup pool as well.
Wow.
So yeah, I made sure like I played really well in that match in Sacramento, and I think Eddie Jones recruited me straight after that game, and yeah, just signed me that night. So I signed for the Sunwolves that night.
Wow.
It was a good experience. So like 2015 was done, and then obviously Japan did really well at the World Cup, and then joining the Sunwolves, where I was pretty much the only international from a different country, and majority of them were the Japanese players from 2015 World Cup. So that was a very good experience for me, especially just another dream of mine was always to play Super Rugby. So I went on to do.
It had been difficult times too, because I think you just had one win, one draw, I believe, that one year, and
Yeah.
hard to keep up the momentum, energy going through a season like that.
Exactly. Especially coming to a league that's that's you have teams from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and then obviously the Jaguars, which were the new team from Argentina. Pretty
Loaded
much
with talent.
yeah, like top 6 countries like in the world. But I really learned a lot from playing against those teams. I think it helped me personally as a back row because we were in the South African conference. And so I'd always, as a young kid, I'd always, I'd try to match myself against, South African back rows, just bruising and, just, top-notch back rows. So it was great to just get that experience, playing against them and then playing against a couple of the Aussie teams in Australia. So yeah, it was great.
So, in my profession, I've been to pretty big sporting events, not playing in them, covering Olympics, the Masters, whatever. What was that like walking into opening ceremonies in the Rio Olympics?
It was unreal, I thought, well, for 15s, I'd reached the pinnacle of 15s, playing in the 15s World Cup, and then in the 7s, and then coming around and trying out for a sport in Rio. That was an unreal experience as well. Just who would have thought 7s would be in the Olympics, and then now like you're actually walking out with Team USA and about to represent your country in the highest stage of sports in the world. So that was, oh my goodness, it was unreal. It was also a very good experience to see and test where we were as a squad. Obviously we didn't do as well as we wanted to, but I think we all knew we still had time to develop as well going into this one, which is great. And I think the team has evolved so much, and I know that they will do much better than we did in 2016, and hopefully medal this time around.
Well, yeah, you've all built that. You've given them that to learn from. You're building the future for what you guys did.
Yeah, it was good to be part of a program, and really, kick off things for USA. Getting the first tournament win, and then which this snowball effect. They've won Vegas twice back to back, which is hard. And it makes like a lot of like kids in America, try to aspire to be like that. And it's just great to watch. And I also, I always give big respect to those guys, for pushing the program forward, and especially the young guys coming through. So yeah, I think they would do well this time. And there's a lot of new guys that I think can make the squad. So it'll be interesting to see with the Olympics being around the corner.
Well, despite the outcome of the last Olympics, if I have the right information, you are in the record books as the first Fijian to represent USA in the Olympics.
It's just a big honor, for my family, and especially like for young Polynesian kids that that want to represent USA. Something to aspire to, something to to get done, and hopefully, they can go on and be better.
So post Olympics, you went to Ealing in the championship. Now, I mean, quite the opposite, say, of Super Rugby. Big stadiums, huge crowds, to more of a grassroots professional organization in Europe. I don't know, a couple of thousand fans at a match or something like that. And we'll skip the Worcester Warriors stint. We'll talk about Ealing for a second, but that seemed to be like a really good fit for you. I mean, the fans loved you out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, they played a brand that I think that was really suitable to my attributes of being a rugby player, especially in 15s. Very attacking style. Very quick. On defense as well. Trying to get over the ball all the time. So, I think when I first debuted for Ealing, tried to just play so well, and I just went on from there.
Well,
and
you
I
did play really well. I think you were man of the match, like 2 of the first 3 matches you played in or something.
Yeah, I was just so happy that I was given the opportunity to play in Europe, in the UK, and it's something that I wanted to do as well. But I also attribute that because before coming there, I had been with the Eagles for the World Cup qualifiers, and I think that had got me really fit coming into the Ealing setup, where everybody was starting preseason, but I had already had this run-up of matches with the Eagles. Oh, right. And so coming into it, I knew I was like already, match fit. So that really, really helped me, and it was John Mitchell at the time, who was head coach. And the staff, the Eagle staff really helped me, especially like with my fitness and like, knowing how to, the different aspects of the game, how to apply myself. So going to Ealing, I think that was just, the outcome of being with the Eagles for so long in the summer and training hard with them. But it had really helped me a lot while I was at Ealing. And it was a very good experience, especially being a forward, in the championship. It's very set piece oriented, scrums, mauling, line out, all that stuff, all that nitty gritty stuff. And it's quite different to playing Super Rugby where,
and you were one of the top clubs in the division, alongside, I think, London Irish are in there at that point, I think. Or
no, it was one at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Bristol was.
That's right. Yeah.
Was in there at the time, so they were putting together their current squad now, so that got a lot of like really, really good players into the championship for them to get promoted. We played them close twice. I think the first time we played them, they scored like right at the death. Yeah. And and then I had left for Worcester, I think 6 games in, and it was just unfortunate that they couldn't finish the job that season.
Right. Now I'm curious. I'm curious how that happens when someone goes on loan to Worcester, like you were. Was that an on loan situation you were in?
No, I got bought out. So,
okay. Now, was did you initiate that, or they came to Ealing and said, "Listen, we'd like to have him"?
Yeah. So I initially wanted to get into the Premiership. So I just told my agent, just get me into a club and I'll do the rest. So I told him. So he got me the Ealing gig, and we negotiated a deal where it was an open contract. So if a Premiership team wanted to come in, they could just buy me out of my contract. I see. And so, I was really focused on playing well, so I could just make the step, and get into the Premiership. So, Worcester signed me on for 2 seasons with the second year option. So I went to Worcester, and at the time, it was a different environment, especially it was a step up. Playing in the Premiership is very different to playing in Super Rugby. So I think I left the first 6 games I played at Ealing, and then I finished off the season with Worcester. and it was a very different experience for me,
Yeah.
Then I decided to come back to Ealing for the second year options, and then I got signed to Ealing on a long-term deal, for like a 3-year deal. Yeah.
So what? Okay, speaking of that, what happened? It seemed like your second stint was short-lived and kind of suddenly departed.
Yeah, I mean, I was also, at the point in my career where I was looking, to further myself outside off the rugby field. The realities of being a professional rugby player or a professional athlete. And I thought, I needed to, do something outside of rugby.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always known that I would go back to school eventually. And I think the time was just right, and it was, because COVID hit literally 3 months after I left.
Oh, jeez.
So so I negotiated a deal to come out to leave Ealing midway through my second year, which it was hard for me because I enjoyed like just being a professional rugby player, playing rugby, but also knowing that I can't do this forever.
Yeah.
And the opportunity was just right. Everything just aligned: work opportunity, school, and looking back, I think it was the right move to make at the time, especially in Europe with the champ being in the situation it is right now.
Yeah.
With the whole budget cut from the RFU, I think I made the right move for myself. And I'm just happy to be back in America right now.
Well, did you ever get a phone call early on from Seattle, the Seawolves, saying, hey, if you ever come back this way?
Yeah, I mean, I had known a lot of the guys that played for Seattle. So a lot of the Eagles boys that had played for Seattle, and I'd always watched the MLR, and I think I was there for the first championship. So I was down in San Diego for the first championship when they played Glendale, I think, in the final.
But you weren't on their roster at that point, right?
No. I just went to watch.
Okay.
I was just on break. So yeah, I just it always fascinated me because when I'm in the UK, I can watch the games live on Facebook Live. So it was it was cool watching it and seeing a lot of the American boys get the game time, and is what we're really lacking the last few years. Getting the boys to play constantly and play a good brand of rugby. So
you ended up signing with them, and which ended up not being the best year for it as well, because I think maybe did you make an appearance for the Seawolves?
I did. So I played in the warm-up game against the Tasman, and then I played against DC, and then I got injured in that game, which was just an MCL sprain. So, and then COVID hit straight after that. So,
well, even right before COVID, I went out to the Free Jacks Seawolves match. I flew out there for it. And on my short list was saying, okay, I want to see Durutalo playing. I want to see this person playing, whatever else. And I showed up to the match, and I'm like, all right, where is he?
yeah. So I was still recovering from that knee injury that I picked up against DC. So, it was tough watching the games. When you're trying to get involved, but obviously that's part of rugby. Being injured. So
yeah. Now, are you signed with them again?
Right now, I'm in talks right now with Seattle and a couple of teams, and obviously just waiting to hear if it does go ahead. So I think once I get confirmation on that, then I'll probably be more clear on.
Yeah, of course.
I've been, yeah.
Well, I thought it was hilarious when there was a post online and you wrote hashtag fake news.
I'm all about the banter nowadays, man.
You gotta. I don't know. You can't be too serious, man. So I heard a rumor that maybe you were going to school over in Europe possibly this next year, but that's not looking like. Did I hear something about Oxford or something like that?
Yes, that is true, and I applied to grad school and got in. So
congrats.
approached by Oxford, to represent the club, and obviously Savet is there, and I see that he was on the show. So, I know I'll eventually represent the Blues against Cambridge. I mean, it's
That's exciting.
World, so I was like, might as well just come out and try and represent. I am. So I start school this month. So, and obviously they've moved the varsity game from December to April, I think. Hopefully I can get involved in that, but only time will tell. Especially with everything going on right now in the world. So, yeah.
Does that put on? I mean, that doesn't work out for MLR right now, or at least not until halfway through the season, or not halfway through, maybe like a month or two into it.
Yeah, and it's the varsity game is just a one-off game. It's not like I have to play the whole season, But yeah, I mean, if it happens, then it'd be a good option to be involved in, and something that I could add to my resume as well.
Well, another thing to add to your resume is, and I see you've been popping up all over the place this past year, but Bermuda Tens. I mean, Oh, man, considering there's no rugby going on in the States right now, to have you select few be able to go over and play, it's like, I was watching online just drooling. Oh.
Yeah, that was fun. Like, being in a tropical, obviously being in Bermuda, the sun, nothing, being on the beach and, being with all like your rugby mates that you meet there, a lot of the boys from different MLR teams, a lot of boys from, that you played with or against from around the world. It was just like, in the time that we're going through, we were able to go to an island and, just isolate and then play rugby, which was cool. A lot of, boys playing rugby after almost a year. So, there's a lot of tired and sore bodies out there. I use that as my preseason as well. So
there you go.
Hard. So I was like, this is going to be my preseason. So obviously that got the ball rolling and trying to, get back in shape and try and compete again at a very good level.
Good. So, Andrew, you've as we've been talking about, you've really logged some serious rugby miles over the years. You've had quite the longevity in your career so far. But as you look back, I mean, are there moments that stand out the most for you that you'll never forget? Are there certain moments out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think one that stands out for me personally was with the Sevens when we first won our first tournament in London at the end of the season, and then and we hadn't qualified for the Olympics yet. We had the World Cup qualifier like 2 or 3 weeks later, but I think we had just been training so hard that season, and just coming short every time. And then, your classic, like at the end of it, and then we win it. Winning the whole of London, the London Sevens tournament was huge, not only for the program, but I think that was the turning point of where we knew that, we were going to go, on to like bigger and greater tournaments and winning more.
Yeah.
I think that was something special and gave us the confidence to, going into the World Cup qualifier. I mean, the Olympic qualifier, sorry, to then qualify for Rio. So that was, there's like joy, but at the same time knowing that the job isn't done yet. The pressure was on like 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later where we had to play against Canada, who were playing like really well that season as well. Right. And I think for Sevens that was probably one of my biggest ones. And 15s obviously the World Cup, being part of a squad and playing with some of those guys, that some of them went on to like bigger and greater things, and then some of the guys retiring, it just like it's an eye opener and always teaches me a lot, never taking a game for granted, because you never know, your teammate, that might be his last game, might be your last game. So just trying to always make it a point to always represent really well.
Well, good. Well, Andrew, listen, I really appreciate you joining me today. I mean, you've been a fan favorite for a lot of USA Rugby fans over the years, and extremely jealous you played in Bermuda recently, or just played. Extremely jealous you played. Maybe one day you can get some of the older players together and enter a team in the Bermuda Classic.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
I was actually going on that this year.
Oh yeah.
But obviously COVID, and then it got canceled. So I was like, oh well.
Yeah. Well, listen, I really do appreciate your time, and good luck with your Oxford studies, with whoever you land with MLR. I don't know. You got so much ahead of you right now. It looks like all open book, trying to close it all up.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and really appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.